It's September 4th, 2024, and we are live. When we're live, it's a live show, and premieres, if you ever see the premiere tag on the video, that's almost always a re-upload. So two different experiences. The re-uploads are great because we can hang out in the chat together, and the live shows are more like I'm like all business and serious, trying to present information to you guys, and I'm not in the chat as much. So we do both. There's like almost 3,000 videos on our channel. So oftentimes I'll go back into the library and find stuff that's generally relevant to what's happening in the current timeline. And then we can all kind of discuss those past videos in the live chat and have a little fun. Sometimes I'll do polls and things. So welcome back. We are live. It's September 4th, 2024. Fun show today. We're going to get caught up on some of these headlines. And then tomorrow, it's actually a TV show and a movie, and it's all pre-COVID predictive programming. And so we'll get into that. It's actually Continuum. One of you sent me some information on the TV series Continuum. And at first glance, I was like, oh, I'm not so sure I want to decode this, but then I got into it and I was like, okay, this is something that needs to be decoded. So Continuum, as well as the movie called Pandemic, which came out in 2016, just before the pandemic. And there's all this predictive programming in that movie. So we'll cover those tomorrow. But let's go ahead and get started. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe some of these headlines today. Crazy times we're living in, you guys. What is going on? Let me say hi first. Good morning. Hey, Cannons, Rage Against the Machine, Bonnie, Sheldon, Cray, Marion, Vet for Peace, Sandra, Kim, Eric. There's Bonnie again, Leah, Rebecca, Carol. How are you guys? How's everybody doing? All right. Well, here's our first story. This is hilarious. Remember 3 or 4 days ago when I told you that COVID vaccine censorship was just like making fast food illegal? Remember, we looked at the metaphor to that. We're like, okay, they're doing this under the guise of quote unquote keeping us safe, right? Oh, it's to keep the public safe. And then I said, well, that's just like saying, oh, fast food should be illegal. Well, guess what? Look at this, August 29th, literally a couple days after we were talking about it. California is cracking down on flaming hot Cheetos and Twinkies. Now, they're not making fast food illegal. I guess you could technically call this a snack food. These are snack foods. But they're illegal for school children. Now, if you think that's a good idea, because some people think, well, that's good, Casey. We should take away snack food, these deadly snack foods for children, right? This is what I used to believe this. But then I realized that this is just the segue into more control and forcing all of us to eat a certain way. Can you believe this? Let's read a little bit of this story. California cracking down on flaming hot Cheetos and Twinkies. Move over, Michelle Obama. The California legislature just passed a school meal rule that could really leave a mark. Ooh, leave a mark. Like the mark. See, they always slip in this weird wording. We know what it means, but everybody else, of course, is fast asleep. State lawmakers on Thursday voted to prohibit California schools from serving food additives used in Flamin' Hot Cheetos, Twinkies, and other fluorescent snacks. Well, here's the crazy thing. If it's not good for the children, well, then why don't they fire the companies from making any of this stuff? You see the problem here? It's weird. It says the move, backers argue, is necessary to limit intake of dyes that have been linked to worsened behavioral issues in kids who have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. California has a responsibility to protect our students from the chemicals that harm children and interfere with their ability to learn. So, snacks are now illegal in California schools, and you have to wonder if this isn't going to spill out into other areas. This is the nanny state, right? This is like, we know what's best for you. You don't. But then they make all the stuff that's killing us. So it's complete hypocrisy. If they really wanted to do something about this, they would just simply tell these manufacturers that the dyes are illegal to use in the foods, kind of like how they do in Europe. It's like, this is not allowed. Okay. And obviously, we do want our food supply protected, but we don't want to be told what to do either. Right. Now, speaking of dumb new laws, always be careful when the government comes bearing gifts. Look at this headline. Every American household could soon get up to $8,000 for home upgrades, courtesy of the U.S. government. Let's read this. Your home renovation era has arrived. Look, they've got all the answers, right? Now that the U.S. government is giving people money to modernize their spaces and cut down their energy bills. Well, for now, until they've got us all off of gas and oil, and then they can just simply start turning up the dial on the costs, right? Just like California did. Oh, everybody, we've got subsidies for solar panels. Come and get it. And then everyone got these solar panels, 20-year, leases. I was talking to my buddy, and he's got solar panels on his house that his parents put on. And these things break every 5 years. He's got to do a major repair, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. And then at that point, they could just set the price. They could just say, oh, every time we come out, it's $4,000 or $5,000. So they're leasing this thing over the course of 20 years. So there's already a $200 a month payment. And then they got to come out of pocket to replace a panel or a breaker or fuse or whatever these things are made of. And in the long run, it's just a money pit. You're not saving money with all the repairs on your electric bill. You're simply foregoing costs. And then now California is charging people to access the grid if you have solar panels. So they're getting their money one way or the other. Okay. So look at this. Sounds too good to be true, right? It's not a dream. It's just the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, Biden passed this, and we all knew that it was a big money pit because you can't just give free stuff away without somebody paying for it. Who pays for it? The taxpayer pays for it. Now, then government will say, oh, we're investing in our future. And so therefore, you're a taxpayer, and all this is going to help our future. It's going to help global warming. But look at this. Here's the problem with all this. It says, just 2 years old, the Inflation Reduction Act is the nation's largest investment ever in tackling the toxic environmental pollution responsible for extreme. So they're talking about global warming here, of course. But of course, not everyone believes in this. And so you don't get a choice. They say it's global warming and we're all going to pay, and you don't get a choice. Notice how none of this really changes when we get different presidents in. The machine just keeps rolling along. None of it's really undone. I mean, how much of the electric car subsidies were undone during Trump? None of them were. The subsidies kept rolling. Why? Because Musk is his friend and Musk makes electric cars. So of course the subsidies are going to keep rolling in. So they give the illusion of stopping this, and they do a few things, but then it just keeps moving forward incrementally, gradually. Look at this. Ditch your unhealthy gas stove and go for the cleaner, more convenient induction cooktop. Now, they've been pushing this unhealthy gas stove meme now for at least the last 5 years. They came out with this. People laughed at them. But here they are, still pushing it. It says here, minimize your reliance on an outage-prone power grid by installing rooftop solar panels. Upgrade to a heat pump water heater to enjoy massive savings on annual utility bills. Additional home upgrade options include leveling up appliances like your clothes dryer and exploring energy-efficient system replacements for insulation. Now, of course, all this stuff is going to cost way more than $8,000, but they're going to give you a subsidy with each of our tax dollars to incentivize you to upgrade. But this is really a downgrade, isn't it? Because when the power goes out, what do? Well, none of this stuff works when your power goes out. Solar panels are only going to give you so much power unless you got a way to store that power. And last I checked, most people don't have enough of the expensive battery storage to store anything longer than a little while, right? Like maybe a couple days. Whereas with propane and gas, it'll go on forever. You guys, I fill up my propane tank once a year, maybe. Gosh, I'm already into the second or third year. Cost me $200 to fill up this tank. It's a 250 gallon tank. And every time I go check it, it's almost still full, right? And so guess what? That heats my water. Take showers, wash dishes. It's also my stove is propane. I also have a backup emergency generator that runs off the propane as well, or gasoline. It's a dual fuel. So what are these people, what are they trying to do to us? They're like forcing us to do all this stuff. They'll pay you now to upgrade to this electric kingdom, but it's most definitely going to come back to bite us at some point, because once gas and propane and oil is gone, they'll just crank up the rates and they'll just say, oh, it's the infrastructure. They'll have us all. They'll have us all because they'll just say, oh, the increasing costs is because we have to keep the infrastructure up, and they'll just keep dialing it up and dialing it up. Next thing you know, it's going to be like a third of your income is going to be energy, right? So check in with you guys for a minute. We'll get into some of these other stories. Hello. Smart things for stupid people, says Snowball. I agree 100%. My stove and heat are propane, says Tonette. Good for you. So now's the time to exercise your right to do some of this stuff and have it. Now, I do have heat pump only because I have allergies or had allergies. It's not nearly as bad out here in the woods as it was when I grew up in California. But I have heat pumps only because they do save me some money. And at any time I could switch. I actually have a window AC unit, brand new, sitting out in my garage. And it hasn't even been taken out of the box yet if I need it. And I'm going to get into a wood burning stove as soon as I can. But I had to get a car, as you guys know. I did keep the Nissan Xterra. I got a guy looking at it right now. He's putting a clutch in it because the clutch went out. All at the same time, the electrical problems started happening. That's what happens with these older cars. I mean, it's got 200,000 miles on it. But these older cars, pretty much something's going to go wrong every 6 months. And you just got to be ready to fix it, So I found a guy on Facebook, on the Facebook group where I live, and he's tearing it apart. He said the flywheel bearing inside the clutch literally seized up and degraded the pressure plate in the clutch. So I barely got it to him in time. So we're going to get that repair done. I do have my other vehicle that I'm driving now. So I'm not without a vehicle, but it's like these things keep coming up, right? It's just life. We all go through it. You just hope you're prepared when these things happen, but yeah, crazy. Okay. Let's get into some of this other stuff. Now, this has never ceased to amaze me. Okay. Have you ever filled up a glass of water about 3/4 full, then you add ice and the water goes all the way up to the top, and then you watch the ice melt, or you leave the cup on the counter for a while, right? And all the ice melts. Was there ever a time where you saw the cup actually overflow because the ice melted? Well, of course not, right? So why do scientists keep telling us that icebergs that melt are making the sea levels rise? I mean, this is science 101. What have they told us our whole lives growing up? Oh, do an experiment. Experiments prove everything. And then you do an experiment and you show somebody, look, here's a glass of water with ice in it. And just because the ice melts doesn't mean you increase the volume. Volume is volume, right? And I'm sure there's some reactions that happen as the ice melts, whatever, but it doesn't mean that the sea levels are going to go up. This is ridiculous. And then if you're a Bible believer, you know that God controls the sea levels, doesn't he? Remember the flood, the great flood? What many people missed with the great flood were the verses that talked about the fountains of the deep. Remember the fountains of the deep? Well, that's where a lot of the water came from. A lot of the water came from the fountains of the deep. And then the waters receded. Where did they go? Probably back down into the fountains of the deep. And then you look around and you don't see Florida underwater over the past 50 years. You don't see anyone in Florida going, oh my goodness. Oh boy, the reef's gone. And so we all know, but yet it's funny because there's bots in these comment sections. I left a comment in this one. And the guy goes, it's a completely different process. It's a completely different process. And obviously, you're not informed. Because I gave him the example of the ice water. And he's like, it's a different scientific process. Well, and then, of course, there's the attack, right? You must be a Trump tard. I go, no. So every time I leave a comment now, I said, and I'm not a Trump tard. Don't like Trump. Don't like any politician. I have to put that down as a caveat to all my comments in these stories when I'm doing my keyboard warrior mode, because I do a little bit of that in these stories because it's just fun, and I guess maybe it helps some people wake up. But yeah, this guy was funny. Anyway, this is what they keep saying, and people believe this stuff. They think if we don't stop this, we're all going to be underwater. No. Read your Bible. God promised. What did God promise us? There will never be another flood on the earth ever again. He made a covenant with Noah and his offspring, put a rainbow in the sky, and he said, never again will I flood the earth. So this is why we got to read our Bibles. Now, what else is going on? Well, everybody remembers Ellen DeGenerous, and she's griping. She's angry because she got canceled. It's been a couple of years since she's been canceled. And I thought about this whole process, right? Because Ellen's been around for a long time, hasn't she? She's like the white version of Oprah, isn't she? And she's been around, 96, 97 is when I remember, because my daughter grew up on Ellen DeGeneres. Her and her mom would sit down and watch Ellen in the mornings, right? And after the machine got done with Ellen, after they achieved their objective of why she was put in place, which I believe the reason why she was put in place is because the machine got its run of putting question marks in people's mind about sexuality, in the minds of an entire generation, questioning if you're straight or gay. That's what the Ellen psyop was all about. Straight, then gay. What many people forget is that Ellen was actually straight at first. She had a boyfriend or something. There were pictures. And then she just decided to become gay and then came out. This was after she had already captured the hearts and minds of an entire generation of people. Ellen didn't used to be the person that she is now. And she definitely, back when I think back, was one of the first people to open the door to normalcy surrounding these issues. So what is she saying now? Well, she's mad. Let's read this. Ellen DeGeneres has ungrateful anger after being canceled in Hollywood for talk show scandal. Now they blame it all on this scandal, right? They say, oh, it's because she was treating her employees bad. But I think there's a lot more to this. I think that the controllers had their run. They used her up, and now it's time to pass the baton to someone else. DeGeneres is still upset over the way she's been treated by Hollywood and vowing to reinvent herself elsewhere. But a source exclusively tells In Touch that she still has supporters on Netflix. However, her stubbornness and ungrateful anger is making her situation even more unnecessarily toxic. Now, of course, I can imagine why she's got supporters on Netflix, because wasn't Obama a huge advocate of Ellen? Didn't Michelle Obama? Yeah, they're the iconic dance scene of Michelle Obama shaking her junk on the Ellen show. Remember that? And of course, Barack Obama as well. So we know that Barack Obama pretty much controls Netflix. So that's probably why she's saying this here. Ellen's decision to walk away from Hollywood is irrational, short-sighted, and selfish, and really comes from this place of ungrateful anger, the insider tells In Touch. It's only natural that when you see a bunch of articles about what a bad person you are, it can feel like the whole world is against you. That is simply not the case with Ellen. So they're just basically making her out to be crazy now. Apparently, she's 66 years old. You know what the perfect revenge for her to do would be? What would the perfect revenge for Ellen be against these controllers? Let's go into the chat here and see if you guys are awake. What would be the perfect revenge for Ellen to do to the controllers now that they've ditched her? Good morning, everybody. Perfect revenge. Okay, let's see who gets a good answer. You guys are going to come up with some good ones. I just know already. They'll probably take her out to lunch, says Snowball. Ellen's part of the club. Yeah, Tony. What if I was her, you know what I would do? I would just go straight again. And then I would go, hey, I'm straight again. All that was just Hollywood telling me what to do. Oh boy. Go get married, have a kid. Oh, she's too old to have kids probably at this point, but go get married, have all these pictures with her boyfriend, right? Go Christian. Yeah. Repent. There is such a thing as true repentance. Now, I don't know what's behind the scenes with these people, but you always wonder when you hear a celebrity, quote unquote, repent, but you can tell very, very quickly if they're honest or not. We have a fake truth movement and fake Christians in these celebrities, don't we? Remember Kanye West turned his name into Ye, and then was doing these gospel type concerts. Didn't we see also Beyonce do something to that degree? And they were claiming that they were Christians, but then later you see the fruit, and the fruit is still not there. They have not repented of all their music and all the stuff that they've done. They just simply are getting more attention and trying to gather Christians into their banner, is what it seems like to me. Now, I heard that Justin Bieber was making moves and was kind of trying to repent from his music and stuff. Have you guys heard anything about Justin Bieber? But just always be cautious. Just be cautious, because what they want you to do is come back into the fold. They want to bait the trap and try to get you to believe in them again so they could do more programming. So just be careful. Okay, I'm in the chat. What's the word on Justin Bieber? Didn't he recently come out and start talking about repenting of all his music? I think he got married. Isn't he going to have a kid or something? And then he did not do the Super Bowl halftime show with Usher. He was invited to do that because Usher is who made him big, but then we decoded the whole Super Bowl halftime show, didn't we? Isn't it interesting how that Super Bowl halftime show, the stage and the chair that Usher sat in looked a lot like the closing ceremony of the Olympics, with the continents shaped like shards of glass or ice. Remember all that? Wow. Some similarities there, aren't there? This is why we got to go back in time and kind of pull up some of these decodes from time to time and compare them to what's happening, because there's a theme, isn't there? Definitely a theme. Smiley on Sunflower says, yes, he joined Hillsong. Oh boy. Okay, let's keep going here. I got a couple more stories for you guys. Thanks for showing up. Ellen Degenerous. Wow. She's angry. Yeah, just turn straight again. Hey, you can get some good revenge there. Brazil is trying to block Twitter X. Brazil watchdog moves to block access to Elon Musk's X after court order. Now, if many of you remember during the pandemic, I think Brazil took one of the highest hits in terms of deaths during the pandemic. There was a lot of crazy stuff going on in Brazil during that time. And it makes me wonder, maybe I need to take a closer look at Brazil and see what exactly is happening. Brazil's telecommunications regulator said on Friday it was suspending access to Elon Musk's X social network in the country to comply with an order from a judge who has been locked in months-long feud with the billionaire investor. Popular social media platform missed a court-imposed deadline on Thursday evening to name a legal representative in Brazil, triggering the suspension. So apparently, if you're in Brazil, you don't have access to Twitter X. Wow. Let's see if we have any Brazilians in the chat today and who can confirm this story, or maybe it got reversed. I don't know. Any Brazilians in the chat today? Let's take a look. Ellen going straight. Wouldn't that be a bombshell? She'd get all the attention. She'd be on all the headlines. Because right now, guess who's always trending when I look at headlines? It's always Trump. Trump, Trump, Trump. Everyone's talking about Trump. But Ellen could take the top spot if she would just do the right thing, right? She won't, but you never know. Okay. Any Brazilians in the chat? Brazil's president loves the Baphomet. He's pick a holding statue with his thumbs up, says Visionary Vet. I guess no Brazilians in the chat today. What else is going on? Well, let's see here. NASA. Now, I don't believe any of this. We're just covering this because it's hilarious. Because this programming is just through the roof. NASA now is talking about a ghost ship. The Boeing Starliner that I guess was sent up there or wherever these people are at. They probably are in the bottom of a swimming pool to rescue the astronauts. Now they're saying there was a strange pulsing sound inside of the Boeing Starliner. You know, we just had the Alien franchise reboot just came out, you know, and all this stuff's in that movie. You know, strange sounds and aliens and pulsing. It's like, really? So these two are stuck up we're supposed to believe that these two have been stuck in this ship for like 4 or 5 months now. Okay. Now I can tell you this. If I was stuck in this little tiny capsule, which is about half the size of my bedroom, I would have gone mad by now. I would have literally lost my mind. I probably would have put myself out the airlock already at this point. But we're supposed to believe these people are perfectly content, just waiting it out. And that, you know, they're recycling their own feces and eating them. And they've got endless amounts of water. Well, they came up with a cover story. Oh, they have supply ships that come up every so often and resupply them. Oh, they have supply ships, but the supply ships, for some reason, can't take them back home. Wow. Anyway, welcome to the NASA ghost ship. The pulsing sound inside the Boeing Starliner has stopped. It won't impact the slated return. Let's read this. We could laugh. The mysterious sound heard emanating from the Boeing Starliner spacecraft has been identified as feedback from a speaker, NASA said in a statement Monday, assuring the capsule's autonomous flight back to Earth is still slated to depart the International Space Station as early as Friday. The feedback from the speaker was the result of an audio configuration between the space station and the Starliner, NASA said, adding that such feedback is common. So why report on it if it's common? The statement said the pulsing sound has stopped. Look at this. This is unbelievable. So this is our world we live in now. Top news is now speaker feedback. Okay, enough of that. Now, what else is going on? Well, California is sliding into the ocean. We all know that, but it's actually happening right now as we speak in real life. Many of you have probably already heard about this. I don't know if Mary Greeley has covered this yet. Probably. This is the kind of thing she would probably cover. Tens of thousands of people just got their power turned off by the utility company. I think PG&E turned it off. As the ground can literally be seen moving in plain sight, slowly creeping towards the ocean, with thousands of homes on the hillside, This is Rancho Palos Verde, California. PG&E cut the power. The gas has also cut the gas supply as well to these people and all these homes as the homes crawl toward the ocean. Think of the creep factor of that. Almost like making your skin crawl, like a pyroclastic flow in slow motion. Let's look at some of these pictures here. Houses are literally falling apart, cracking, just falling into the ocean across this city. Now, what makes this a strange city is that it sits on the 33rd degree parallel, sits squarely on that parallel, at 118 degree meridian, which is 666, 118 degrees. Now, apparently these landslides have been happening for a very long time, for decades and decades, just because the way this town is situated on this large mesa that butts up against the ocean. But for some reason, people just keep building on these areas. I mean, look at some of these homes look well established. Like, look at this. Let's look at this home right here. This looks like a normal, well established home, but yet people just keep building on these areas. Now, I dug into this a little bit because I was, kind of curious about this whole situation, and I found out that Trump has a golf course here, and they also filmed several TV series here as well as a popular movie. The TV series was Lucifer, was filmed here, and the movie Inception was filmed here as well. And of course, Inception featured a lot of landslide-like visual effects. Here's one such visual effect. There's no such thing as the ground in this movie. Everything's like upside down, twisted around. And I need to probably rewatch Inception. That would be a great movie to decode again. I did at one point, but I should probably do it again. But yeah, this is where it was filmed, or part of it was filmed here in Rancho Palos Verdes. Weird, right? Just bizarre. So the people there are literally watching the ground move. Whoa, and the power's cut. I would get out of there. Escape from California. My goodness. Huh, interesting. Let me go back in the chat. Now, hello everybody. Tomorrow, a TV show and a movie from before COVID. Continuum is the TV series we're going to look at. I got through the whole first season. And the movie is Pandemic. Continuum is about time-traveling cops. And of course, the Pandemic movie is self-explanatory. All before COVID, yet you're going to see predictive programming pointing directly at a future event that had not happened yet. All right, good morning, everybody. I'm in the chat here. Hello, hello. Do you guys want to do a poll? Polls are fun. Oh, gosh, I can't believe we're into September. You guys, in a few more months, it's going to be 2025. I can't even believe that. So I should always be prepared. I remember when I first started the channel in 2012. Is my mother still there? Yeah, my mom's still in California. She won't leave. She thought about moving to a different part of California. And I said, Mom, it doesn't matter where you go. You go up in the foothills, there's fires. You go down the valley, you just got to get out. But she won't. She's 75, so she's just riding it out. Okay, what poll should we do, Rebecca? Who wants to do a poll? But where I was going with that train of thought was back in 2012. This was 11 years ago, you guys. I said, you know what? I was already talking about, getting out of the beast, telling people how to live. I remember those videos, and people said, we don't have any time left. This is only going to last another couple years. Okay? And then the pandemic happened, and everybody had to go through that. And a lot of people were unprepared because they had not prepared. They didn't listen. So they had to compromise because their job was on the line, or this was on the line. They didn't make a way out for themselves by saving and getting into a place of refuge. And so, unfortunately, that's what happened. So I know it seems like we're right at the end, but sometimes, again, 2012, people are telling me there were people that unsubscribed. You're talking about 5 or 10 years in the future. There is no 5 or 10 years left. And here we are 11, 12 years later. So just think in the mindset of being prepared on some level. Start small. Okay. All right. I'm in the chat. Oh, have you been booted off the chat here today? That's a good poll. Okay, let's start with that one. Engage your audience. Start a poll. Have you been booted from the chat? I'll give you a quick today. I'll give you guys a little update. Ooh. Okay, so I was out at the garden watering at 7 a.m. yesterday morning, and there was a copperhead. Now, what is a copperhead doing on a cool morning? It was probably 60 degrees near my raised beds. And it startled me because I nearly stepped on it. And I was in flip-flops, unfortunately. Now, copperhead won't kill you, but it could have caused me some great pain. And gosh, it was about 2.5 feet long. And so now I'm back to putting my boots on. So I had a couple close calls this year, you guys. I almost drowned and probably got within a foot of stepping on a copperhead snake, which would have definitely bit me. So I promised my mother and all of you that I'm going to be more careful. No more walking around in flip-flops or barefoot on the property. I've got to wear my boots, which is what they're designed for. It's funny because people make fun of people who wear cowboy boots. Well, there's a purpose behind them. They're thick leather for a reason, so that you don't get bit by snakes. Now, my boots are low riders, kind of. I should probably get something that almost go up to my knee. That would be the best, but I do have snake chaps that I could put on, which I might do. I always thought they were all going to be starting to go into hibernation by now because it's kind of that time of the year. So the good news is, yeah, it was right at the edge of the raised bed. I have 2 raised beds, Scott, and there's about 1.5 to 2 feet in between them, so I could walk between them. If you look on some of the Honey Milk Ranch videos, you can see the beds. There's dozens of videos showing the beds, and they're about 2.5 feet high, so you can walk in there in between them. And yeah, this copperhead was on the corner trying to crawl up under the bed, and I saw movement, and I was literally a couple feet, like a foot away from this thing. I probably almost stepped on it. So I got boots and chaps. I'll just probably wear them, and I promised to wear my life vest from now on anytime I go in the water. So I thought I was a good swimmer, but if you can only tread water for 5 minutes, you're probably just a mediocre swimmer. So yeah. Good news is there's all kinds of produce, tomatoes galore. I'm barely keeping up with eating all of them to stay current on my tomato, without wasting anything. Most of the peppers have been harvested, and now it's just tomatoes. So I'm going to be doing lots of salsas. I'd rather do a fresh salsa and just try to eat all of it than get into, tomato sauces and stuff. I just like the salsas. It's so fresh, right? So I'll just keep doing that until they're all harvested. I'm thinking I'm getting pretty close to the first freeze. It's been in the, high 50s at night, low 60s. So, any week now, there'll be a freeze and all the produce is going to be gone. So, fortunately, about 99% of it is getting used and eaten. I didn't know this, but apparently Daddy Longlegs love cherry tomatoes. I saw 3 or 4 of them all like clumped into a little hole on a cherry tomato and just going to town on a cherry tomato. I was like, how cute is that? A Daddy Longleg spider eats cherry tomatoes. Wow. But I only had that one tomato worm, and I got that off of there, and I have not seen any other animals or anything eating the fruit, including the deer. I was kind of shocked. Apparently deer, at least where I'm at right now, maybe because the garden's so close to the house, but they have not come after any of the peppers, any of the tomatoes, or anything in the garden. So that is great news. that means I don't have to build a 6-foot fence around my garden. So next year I'll be prepared to do the garden the right way. I'm going to add a lot more soil to the beds, get it really high off of the ground, and do some work on the beds for next year. So there's the update on the garden at the ranch. So deer season, there's a season that starts this weekend. It's called Velvet Buck. That's the first one, September 7th through 9th. And you're only allowed to take one velvet buck, which is a buck with the velvet still on its antlers. And then on the 30th or the 29th, the full deer season opens up. So I got my blind out and I'm all ready to go. I got my crossbow all dialed in. So I'm really excited about all that too. So, all right, I'm back in the chat. So about 15% of you have gotten kicked out of the chat today. Wow. Yep. Okay. Any other polls you guys want to do before you pop off of here? Right. 130 votes. Cool. What else is going on? Crushed eggshells. Yeah, I saved some of those, so I'll put that in there around your soil. Bugs don't like them. The calcium. Cool. All right. Rabbits are an issue in Indiana. You know what's crazy? I've got like a bunch of rabbits out here because every time I walk out on the deck, one runs out from under the deck and they'll stand there like 5-10 feet away from me and look at me. I guess they think that they're, camouflage or something. Little white-tailed rabbits. And so, but they have not been eating the tomatoes. So that's good. They just cruise around. They eat mostly the clover. There's plenty of clover out there in the grass. Maybe that's why they're not eating any of the tomatoes. So, all right. Yeah. Richard wants me to do a poll about Michelle Obama. That will immediately get us kicked off of YouTube. Can't do those polls anymore. Can't do. Who wants a chap wearing video, says Jamie. Oh boy. Why did the deer get braces, says Yabadava. Corona return for survey, KC. Grind them in your coffee grinder. You won't have snails. Oh, nice. That's a great idea. I actually have a coffee grinder. Yeah. Snowball is a groundhog living in his yard. See lots of rabbits. Let's see here. Cutter worms won't touch tomatoes with a nail in the ground next to your plant. Huh. Let's go. Oh, what was the joke? Didn't get the punchline of the joke. Rosie O'Donnell just put Trump on blast for dipping his ear in ketchup. Oh boy. Wow. So now they're saying he faked it. Huh. All right, you guys. Well, I got a little bit more work. I got through everything but the season finale of Continuum. So that was 10 episodes. So I'm going to get off of here and just finish that last episode, edit that together, and then we'll be ready to rock for tomorrow, another live show tomorrow. I love each and every one of you. Thanks for showing up. Hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Much love. Take care and be safe.